Good morning and welcome to today's lesson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go through expectations real quick. Make sure you're proactive, you're watching the video carefully and take notes if you didn't understand anything. Complete all assignments, check any additional resources that I posted, and make sure to review the feedback after you submit the assignment. I will actually get back to you usually within 24 hours. Make sure that you read that, and if you're scoring less than 65%, make sure to redo your assessments. Now you have answered this question for your warm-up. I cannot wait to read through your answers. And for today, we are going to learn to collect, organize, and tabulate data. And to tabulate the data means to arrange data in table form. And when I talk about table and data, I'm talking about the data table on the left, not the actual table on the right. Now let's look at the first example. Sean wants to find how students in his class get to school. To do this, he can collect the data by using one of the three methods. The first one is to carry out observations. He can stand at the school door in the morning to observe how his classmates arrived at school. Or he can conduct surveys through interviews, so he can interview or talk to his classmates to find out how they get to school. And lastly, he can conduct surveys using a questionnaire. So he can prepare a questionnaire for his classmate to complete, such as the one to your right. He can ask simple question, how do you get to school? Check the box next to how you usually come to school. Choose only one option, walk, bus, bicycle, car. Which one do you think is the most effective? Well, if you look at the first method, he might have to come to school early in the morning, probably from 6 a.m., so that he doesn't miss the first person who get to school. And he might have to stand there for 2 hours, and then he probably miss people who come in late. For number two, he might have to spend time talking to his classmates, imagining if he spent 3 minutes talking to one person and he has 100 person that he has to talk to, then he would be wasting many hours. Lastly, if he is using a questionnaire, it's probably the quickest way because he can prepare the questionnaire in advance, and it would probably only take less than 30 seconds for each person to complete. So collecting the data, questionnaire might be one of the more effective ones in this case. So this is how he picked to collect the data. Now, once he received the data, he can tabulate the data, meaning that he used a tally chart to record the results of his survey. Then he counts the tally marks to find out how many students use each form of transportation. For example, he's going to grab one questionnaire, and the first person might say walk, so he's going to put one tally under walk. The next person might say bus, bicycle, car. He's going to keep tallying the result, and then he's going to count the frequency. Frequency in this case refers to how often a piece of data, such as an item or a number, occurs. So you can just think of it as how often does something occurs. For example, in this case, looks like 8 of his classmates walk to school. So the frequency of people who walk to school is 8 people. Now, other things I can observe from this chart is that the most common form of transportation is by bus, because there are 13 people who take a bus to school every day. And the least common method is bicycle, because only 4 people bike to school. I can also observe that he collected data from 30 classmates altogether, because if I count all the tallies or if I add up all the frequency, the result I have is 30 classmates. Now let's see if you understood what I meant. You're going to complete this chart using the data in the table. So Emma used a questionnaire to find out the number of brothers or sisters her classmates have in their family. She already did the tally part for you. Now you're going to do the frequency part. And by frequency, you can just count how many tallies it has in one row. So let's look at people who has 0 brothers or sisters. There's 1, 2, 3 tallies, so the frequency is 3. And you're going to do the same thing with the rest. And when the frequency is 3, it just means that 3 of her classmates has no siblings. Now, how many classmates has 1 brother or sisters? How many classmates has 2 brothers or sisters? And so on. After you complete that, you are going to answer the questions. Just read the question carefully and you can just type in the number. You can pause the video right here and I'll be back with you in a moment.